reminder to please turn your cell phones off, speak clearly into the microphone. Andrea, could we have roll call, please?
Mayor Bain.
Here.
Councilor Baker. Here. Councilor Becker.
Here.
Councilor Quinlan.
Here.
Councilor Scalisi.
Here.
Councilor Sherman. Here.
Okay, we've all had a chance to look at the minutes for the regular meeting of September 9th. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Do I have a motion to approve? Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Visitors and delegations. Tonight we have the pleasure of having Mickey George as, let's see, and also the Brush Junior Main Street. So if you want to come forward with your presentation, please.
Brush Junior Main Street would like to thank the City Council for letting us pass the smoke-free parks. Yeah.
Because of your efforts, we're actually making a mark in Northeast Colorado right now, and people are starting to follow your suit and make more changes. So,
Oh, that's
thank you.
great. Thank you. And in light of the recent reports that they're showing on vaping and stuff, the dangers and stuff like that, I think it was a very positive change, and hopefully other communities will do the same.
I'm sure.
Thank you guys very much
Thank
for
you.
what you've done.
So, I'll just get this.
Okay.
Everyone, thank you.
Keaton, how are you?
Do you guys
Keaton
want
is
to-
instrumental in this also.
Picture of you guys. Let's show her a picture.
She says that all the time.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone that would like to citizen comment tonight? Okay, moving on to number 5 under management. Up for consideration, we have second and final reading of ordinance number 879-19. We don't have, Monty's not here tonight, so I'll go ahead and speak to this issue. This concern changing the maximum sentencing language and also maximum fines in order to comply with state law. And this is, like I say, second and final reading, so I would consider a motion to approve.
I'd move we approve second and final reading of ordinance 879-19.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Andrea, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Becker.
Yes.
Councilor Quinlan.
Yes.
Councilor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilor Scalisi.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes.
Councilor Baker.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to 5B. This deals with the CIRSA insurance premium. Joanne?
So in your packet, I had put a staff recommendation. We did receive our preliminary quotes for the 2020 property casualty and workers' comp insurance, and if you looked at that, you will notice that our property casualty is going to end up increasing $40,999. The largest reason for that, CIRSA is telling us that Colorado is now considered the hail capital of the nation. I mean, we're #1 in the nation. And because of all the hail damage and that, it's caused, some carriers aren't even covering hail anymore, but it's actually really hit CIRSA and what they have to charge us as a premium. The other piece of that is in 2017, we did have the tornado, and CIRSA did pay out to us about $180,000, I think is what they paid out in insurance claims on that tornado. The workers' compensation, it's going up roughly $51,163. They review your last 3 years' worth of workers' comp claims. And as much as we try, unfortunately, the last 3 years we've had some pretty significant workers' comp claims. We've had some individuals that's been on workers' comp for a couple years, one that's been over a year. So that has also affected us, and then there's our final settlement that we've had to deal with as well. So actually anticipating this workers' comp not to get any better next year because of the claims that we have had. So we're just asking that council approve the mayor signing off on the quotes, so I can get them sent back to CIRSA saying we are accepting them and going to move forward for 2020.
So Joanne, the numbers you read, those are the increases or those are the quotes?
Those are the increases.
What are the?
The quote for property casualty is $162,522. And comparing that to, it was $121,523 last year. And then the quote for workers' comp is $202,141. And last year, it was $150,978. Last year's increase was only $3,700, but those three high years have now caught up with us. So,
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Joanne. Okay, I would entertain a motion to either approve or deny CIRSA insurance premium quote.
I make a motion to approve the CIRSA insurance quote.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Second, discussion. One thing I would add on this, when you talk about being the health capital of the world, on my home insurance, the carrier that I've had for the last 20 years is actually moving out of Colorado next year. So when I looked at what my next premium is going to be, it kind of shocked me too. So, all right, Andrea, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Sherman?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to 5C, resolution number 2019-11, containing findings of fact, conclusions, and order, granting the application of Northeast Colorado Cellular. At our last meeting, like I say, Monty's not here tonight, so at our last meeting, we previously approved the construction of the tower. This resolution contains findings of fact, such as the application was filed correctly, we got all the notice out, that sort of thing. So I would look for a motion to approve this resolution.
I move to approve resolution number 2019-11.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Andrew, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Sherman?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to 5D, street department dump truck purchase. Dale?
Thank you, Mayor. The city had received actually 4 bids for the replacement of our 99 dump truck. It's old, it's no longer DOT certified, so it's useless. We need to really replace it out. And so we received 4 bids, 3 of them were deemed to be complete. With that, there was 2 that came from MHC and 1 from Bruckner's. And after looking at the second option with MHC, it had a much smaller engine, much smaller transmission, not near the load, and it's probably not going to stand up to the duty that we're looking to put it through. So we are recommending awarding the bid to Bruckner's for $142,625. Now, there is one other little catch to this, is that in 2018, when we were filling out capital improvement sheets, somewhere along the line, the street department's contribution came through, the general funds did, but the water department also has a portion that they pay into these dump trucks as well, because we utilize them on water breaks and other items. Somehow the water department's contribution got dropped, and then the general fund's contribution got split in half. And so instead of having $150,000, there was only $96,000 budgeted. And so consulting with finance, I believe that she's comfortable that we could probably still make this purchase, but we would wind up having to supplement the budget more than likely at the end of the year. So
Okay.
staff,
Yeah. Okay.
so it was an error. It slipped through the cracks, and how it got by for 2 years, I don't know, but we'll be scrutinizing them a little better next time. So.
Okay. All right,
So-
thank you, Dale. I'd look for a motion.
I move that we approve Buckner's $142,625 purchase.
Okay, we have a motion to approve to Buckner. We have- Bruckner. Okay, what he said. Okay, do we have a second? Second? Okay, any further discussion? Andrew, roll call vote.
Counselor Sherman?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Okay, also under 5D, Dale has this topic, awarding wastewater department pickup purchase.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, same story. We went out for bids for a new pickup for the wastewater plant. The one we're replacing is fairly old. It's getting up there. And so we received four bids, and all of them were deemed to be complete. We had two from Transwest and one from Ehrlich. After we reviewed the specifications and looked everything over, the staff is recommending the award to Transwest, the low bid of $33,620. The 2019 budget, we have $45,000 allocated for this.
Okay. All right, we'll look for a motion on this topic.
Move we approve the wastewater pickup truck bid to Transwest for $33,620.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Second, discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Counselor Baker? Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Sherman?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to finance.
I make a motion to approve city expenditures from September 9th through the 23rd of 2019 in the amount of $314,143.41.
I show 344. 344,000?
I apologize for that. At the last, actually should be the 344, 143, 41. We had it all done, and then we had a last-minute addition for the storm water line
Oh, that's,
cleaning.
okay.
And so that's where that other extra 30,000 come in, and I do apologize.
So I amend my
So
motion.
what is it again?
$344,143.41.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Okay, Andrew, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Baker? Yes. Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Sherman?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. Okay, moving on to 6B, 2020 budget. This is a public work session where department heads will present their line item requests. Joanne?
Yes, in your packet this evening, you had all of the department heads' line item budgets, including their line item descriptions for each of the items. This evening, they will be going over anything that has increased probably $500 or more. They're not going to go over every line item. We'd be here forever. We will start out, and those are numbered in your packet. In the upper right-hand corner is the numbering we'll be using. We'll start off with the chief of police, and then since Lance, Tyler, and Monty are not here, I will do theirs in those order.
Okay.
So we'll start out with the chief boss.
Okay, chief.
Good evening. I will hopefully be very brief unless you have questions. So, in my budget, and I think it came through in the packet, I highlighted basically all the changes. So anything in yellow is something that's actually being removed from my budget, and that pertains to separating municipal court out of the police department.
Great.
So the yellow highlighted items all relate to that separation. Not that those budget dollars are going away, they're just gonna be in a different budget.
Right.
Green or blue, depending on which printer you use, are the changes in the increases, and there's essentially two.
Okay.
So the first one is the comp center or county IT line item budget. And what's happened in the past is we have used the records management system provided by the county. All the law enforcement agencies in the county have used that free of charge. And the county's reached a point where it's an unmanageable expense for them to put all the money into that. So they're dividing it up based on usage, and it's based on percentage of reports generated by each law enforcement agency. So brush, we netted about 21% of the usage. Fort Morgan is 43, and I believe Morgan County is around 22. Log Lane and Wiggins take the rest. So this is just an estimated cost, and then I aimed a little high just for any unforeseen expenses or if it rises a little bit. The second line item that I added for this year is a SWAT budget. And that's on the second page of just my line item sheets. We participate in the Morgan County SWAT team. We actually provide 4 officers to that team. Fort Morgan Police Department provides, I believe, 5. They might be down to 4. And then Morgan County supplies 2. In this day and age, it's an absolute necessity. We have to have this resource. But the other piece of it is I don't want to take away from the patrol staff and their equipment and their training dollars. So I'd like to increase my budget with enough money to cover what SWAT has to do for training, and that's laid out by the National Tactical Officers Association and the U.S. Supreme Court. So their training is very regimented and very specific as to what they have to do. So I just want to increase money in the budget to cover their training needs as well as their equipment needs and still not take that away from patrol, so my patrol staff can also maintain what they need to do for training. So those are my changes, if you have any questions on it.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you for highlighting, that helps.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, Joanne has got this is Lance's
This
next?
is Lance's.
Okay.
He has cemetery, parks, recreation, and the golf course, and they were on page 11 through 46. I'm really not going to go over any of his stuff because he told me that it's all pretty much just status quo as far as these line items. The one area that he did want me to address was that if you would notice under sprinklers on his parks and on his cemetery, the sprinklers in the parks, which is on page 18, he increased from 6,500 to 16,000, and he increased in the cemetery approximately 2,000, I believe. He's increased those because he needs to do some the clock upgrades to those. He initially put it in these budgets, but now he is asking the foundation for assistance, and these may end up being put into the capital request. So you may also see this in the capital request. If it's approved under the capital request, then this line item would go down in the future.
Now, what page is that in our,
Page 18, remember your upper right-hand corner.
oh, our packet includes all the pages of information
Yes.
before that, so we gotta add that 19, so it's,
No, they're numbered.
oh, they are numbered, okay, okay.
Yeah, they're numbered.
Okay, good, okay,
So it's on that page 18.
Oh, I got it.
About halfway through
yeah,
Yeah.
it shows sprinklers.
okay,
actually went down.
No, 6,500 to 16,000.
okay.
So the budget for
Oh, 'cause what we
2019.
actually did.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
For his budget for 19 is 6,500, his budget for 20 is 16,000, and so that's what they compare with, the budget from 19 to the budget for 20.
Okay.
Okay? Do you have any other questions possibly on his? Okay. And then next, I believe we have Dale.
In the Public Works Department, we're gonna go over streets, water, trash, wastewater, and stormwater. I'm just gonna highlight some of these items that have had some changes. For example, in the street department, we've increased our medical. This is what we utilize for CDL testing, for UAs and such, as well as pre-employment physicals. We've had some turnover in the past, which has required more and more medical reviews of prospective employees. Next, you'll see a decrease in the maintenance line item, 1408, and that a lot of the repairs that we did because of the tornado are taken care of. We don't need that 9,000 in there anymore, so that's dropped quite a bit, so that's also good. And that's just about it for the street department. Moving on to the water department, You'll see under chemicals at 1206 that there's an increase of $2,000 for chemicals. Bleach is one of those alkali industries that tend to have reoccurring increases every year. And so we put in 8,000, which is an increase of 2,000 over last year. Next, you will see association dues. We've increased that $100 simply because we have more people on board now, and we're going to have to do some training and get them in those associations. Other than that, the water budget pretty much stays the same. Trash and garbage is where you're going to find a lot of the changes to the budget, just as we're just rearranging them being out there at that new shop. We've increased the office supply by $100. We've increased the safety equipment line item. This is what buys vests and the coats and the coveralls to keep them with Class 2, Class 3 visibilities. It turns out that on the trash department, they get dirty really, really quick, and they really take a beating. So we're going to increase that by $1,000 this upcoming next year. Next item will be electric and gas. We've raised that to $8,000. Again, electricity keeps going up, natural gas keeps going up. We're just being cautious. And then under building maintenance, we raised it from $2,000 to $4,000. We're going to do some more improvements in and around the shop area, make it more efficient for the guys to work. And then finally, under programs, you have trash containers. We've increased that by $5,000. We are purchasing more and more containers these days, especially with the 65-gallon recyclable totes. And so we just want to make sure we can cover that. And of course, the annual increase over at the county landfill that happens every year. I mean, their costs go up and they just pass it on to us. So we've increased that from $110,000 to $120,000 for tipping fees. And then when it comes to wastewater, we've decreased the uniforms, the miscellaneous tools line item by $300 this year. It doesn't appear that we need to have $1,800 for that. They're pretty well stocked with what they need to do the maintenance down there. And then also we decreased uniforms from 800 down to 400. We now have what I feel is a very good stable crew out at the wastewater plant that'll be around, so we're not necessarily having to re-equip people because we've had some turnover in that department as well. Telephone went up $500. And then finally under vehicle O&M, sheet number 63, we had repairs go from 1,000 to 2,000. We've got a couple vehicles that are starting to show some age. And then under tires, we went from 4,000 to 7,000, in that we are looking at replacing the tires on our biosolids application trailer. They're very large balloon tires. They're starting to get sun rot and weather checked, and they've got some cuts in them, so they're going to need to be replaced. They're about $3,000 a piece. And then finally, with stormwater, there are no changes from last year's budget.
Okay.
Any questions?
All right. Thank you,
Okay,
Dale.
thank you.
Now we have, I believe, Tyler Purvis Marketing. Joanne's got that. Thank you again.
So Tyler actually starts on page 71 and goes through page 85. As you all may recall, last year all he had was marketing, but with Karen leaving the city and Tyler getting reclassified, he now has 3 departments that he covers and watches, and that would be the community development, marketing, and airport. So we will start on page 72, which is community develop. One of the first things you may notice there is that 1211 building admin. Last year it had a budget of $1,900. It's showing nothing in 2020. Part of that changing is that the janitor is now underneath my supervision. And so with that, the building maintenance piece is underneath administration as well. So that's going to be, the historical will stay in here because that's where it was over the last several years. But for the 2020 budget, you'll see those in administration. On line item 1305 inspectors, that is increasing from 40,000 to 50,000, and that's from the potential housing development and LAM facility. is what that, hey, why is that's been increased 10,000. Line item 1408, which is the building maintenance, is the other line item that's going to be moved to administration. Okay? And then on page 73,
Oh, wait, one question, Jerome, on, with Karen being gone, we still show that permanent, under personnel for 82,000?
yes.
Wouldn't,
That will change because what's going to be under here is Randy.
okay,
He will be in here.
okay.
Tyler will still be in marketing. Randy's full-time. Yes, he's
Oh,
full-time.
we just don't reflect that change at this point?
Yeah, at this point in time, we don't
Okay.
reflect that change. The same with that part-time position, that was the janitor. So historical will be in here through 2019, but in 20, she'll come out of administration.
Okay, and some of the things that Karen did that were going to consulting and stuff, will that come under,
It'll still be in here.
it still will be?
Yeah,
okay,
because that would have been
Okay.
1304 and
Yeah.
that 1305 inspectors.
Okay,
Yes, so those are still in here,
okay,
because that's all part of that building
Right.
piece. And so Randy will come out of here. The amount of dollars will lower a bit, and the person will change.
and that's why we see some of those costs going up as we have people doing those things?
Yes,
Okay.
we've hired
Okay.
out, like those inspections, we've
Right.
hired a lot of that. We're gonna hire some of those larger projects out,
Okay,
okay?
Yep.
And then on page 73, 1538 is outreach. That went from 3,000 to 4,000. Okay, so more outreach to the community with new features that will be online. So we've spent significant time working on getting our Facebook up and running and our website up and running and changed and improved, and so that's for that community outreach type stuff that we're gonna be doing there. And also on that page at the bottom is where you actually see that janitor listed. That will be going over into administration.
okay.
On page okay, so on page 80, which is marketing, on his 1407 advertising, it went from 3,000 to 4,000, and that's for advertising or new website notifications, which would be an additional cost for next year that we haven't had in the past. And then, in the airport, which is page 84, building maintenance has increased from 3,000 to 4,000. One thing I might point out on that line item, you'll see that 57,000 on there for this year. That's the improvements, the carryover from 2019 and the tornado improvements
Oh.
that had to be completed on that building. Okay? And for out at the airport, this building maintenance is kind of a catch-all for any of that maintenance that goes on out there. But next year he's increasing it 1,000, and that's for painting that needs to be done on the facility.
Okay.
Okay? And that is it. So now we go to Tad.
Tad.
I'm easy. I don't have any significant changes. So, that makes it easy.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
Any questions?
Yep,
All
the
right, thank you.
facility's working great.
That's good to hear. That's
Good.
good to hear. Thank you. Andrea?
The only significant change that I have is $1,000. Dale tells me my computer has Windows 7 that is out
Is
the
that-
door, so I have to either get.
Starting January 1, end of life has
Yeah.
occurred. So anybody running at Windows 7 will not be receiving upgrades from Microsoft
Okay.
after the first year.
So-
And we still have a few straggler machines that are still Windows 7.
So that's it.
Okay.
Easy.
There's so many pages trying to get to who's
I
next,
know.
takes me about, I'm going as
So
fast as I
Monty's the
can.
last one.
Okay,
He starts on page 98 and goes through 113, which is the end of it.
okay.
There really isn't too many significant items in there. If you would look under his budget, the city administrator, you will notice that travel and training has increased by roughly $800. And that increase is in case he decides to go to the ICMA conference. So that's why he increased it that $800. That was the only change to that one. And then in administration, which starts on page 107, this is where you will, let me see. You will see that 1408, that building maintenance, that's coming over from community development, and it's gonna be put in there at $8,900,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
you
those two
mentioned
line
that.
items over in the other one combined.
Okay.
After doing it for the year, I don't see the necessity of dividing it out really small, because they're such small items that I just combined them together in the administration. Also in here, you will notice on page 108, the employee incentive, which is where our city picnic comes out of. It's where the Christmas party comes out of. It's where bonuses or whatever the council and administrator decides to do at the end of the year comes out of. So that's being increased by $1,000 for next year, and that's just the continual cost of living going up that we've increased that one by the 1,000. Also, you will notice at the bottom of this, the janitor has been added at the bottom of there as a one part-time janitor. Okay? And then I wanted to also, the other item that came up in here is that in talking about this the day before Monty left, we actually, in the middle of this year, and I think Monty addressed it at least with Finance Committee, we'd approved for the Wellness Committee to try a program where each of the employees can ask for like $75 for work boots. And that was approved. I don't think we've had anybody claim it yet. But we never put any estimate for this year in here, and we never budgeted it in here for a line
Oh.
item. So we're gonna, you'll see that at a later date when we do the actual budget retreat. We'll put a number in there for next year. Okay? Each full-time employee is allowed to use that for different special items. The other item that we have, as Derek had mentioned, that he has talked to us about the municipal court clerk needing to be moved out of that police department because of conflicts. And we're aware of that, but we have not increased any line items anywhere to reflect that, because we're just not sure where we're going with that at this point in time.
Okay.
So before budget retreat, I'm sure that'll all be finalized and it'll be figured out somehow. But he does have a good start on it, that's for sure.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay. Go back to the other document here. We'll go back to staff reports. Joanne, do you have any staff reports?
Oh, of course I do. It's my show tonight.
It certainly is.
All finance. I just had one quick item, and that was to report that the Scott Zabel for Lauer and Zabel Company did come to the Finance Committee meeting tonight and did present our audit. Got a clean bill of health. Everything looks really good financially. And so I did lay audits on Marlene and Dan's desks there. That's it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Police chief.
Good evening again. I have three things briefly. First, I just want to say thank you for the campground ordinance that you passed back in July. That went into effect July 19th, and we have seen a significant change already. I spoke with Lisa about it the other day, and just from clientele to problems, it's night and day different.
Great.
Since that ordinance went into effect, we've written 2 tickets. Before, we were writing tickets almost daily, definitely weekly. And we have gotten a lot of positive feedback from people staying there as well. So just wanted to pass that on. You may have seen the press release, but we stopped a car just over a week ago that had a improvised explosive device in it. There was not a threat to the community, but we did encounter some issues with the Greeley Bomb Squad and some procedural things that we weren't comfortable with. So we've hashed through all that. We have a much better procedure in place now in working with them. So hopefully we don't run into that again, but in the future it will go much better and far more smoothly. But that is something that I think is significant. And then the last thing, as a department, we're calling it Code Enforcement Week because we haven't come up with something more creative yet. But October 21st through 28th, we are going to make a very concerted effort to spend time on code enforcement. Doesn't mean we're out writing tickets, but we want to definitely educate the community. We want to start doing some media campaigns ahead of time, social media campaigns, but Lisa is literally the busiest person in brush, and she can't keep up. So this is kind of an effort on our end to get her ahead and then make it a manageable problem. So just so you all know, and you can pass the word on to people, cut your weeds, mow your weeds, spray your weeds, kill your weeds, get rid of your weeds. And we'll go from
That's
there.
good to hear. I think the public will be happy with that.
So that's all I have.
I saw her new van when I was out
Yes.
driving around today, and I swear I'm driving and I didn't recognize it as a police vehicle. I thought it said odor enforcer, and I was like, who has the odor enforcer in their house? And then I got closer and thought they could have.
That's Fort Morgan's problem, not ours.
All right, thank you, Chief. Fire Chief Tad, do you have anything?
Yeah, a little bit. Today we started ground ladder testing, and all of our ground ladders tested well, so we're good there. Tomorrow we start pump testing, and that'll go through Wednesday. So all the trucks get pump tested, and then next Monday we test the aerial, and I think it's every 5 years it goes through a severe test. And so all the welds get x-rayed and that type of stuff. That starts next Monday.
Okay.
So that's the big thing going on around the firehouse right now.
Is that an outside agency that comes out to do that?
We hire UL to do it,
UL. Okay.
just because that's all they do. And then we have certification from UL, and that goes a long way. If there's an accident or something like that, the first thing they're gonna do is see
How long?
what kind of testing we're doing,
Okay,
so.
all right, thank
All
you.
right.
Best and brightest, Matt?
Nothing to report.
Okay, city clerk, oh, let's see,
Dale.
Dale. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't here for the last meeting, so I didn't get to announce it, but over at Thompson Primary School, there on Ray Street and Emerson Street, we removed that low-hanging light from across the roadway. I mean, I was afraid that Tad might actually snag it, and of course, we couldn't get our trash truck through, we can't get our bucket truck through.
Right.
So as a matter of safety, it was one of the projects that council approved last year, was to get those swapped out to flashing LED lights, and they definitely grab your attention. Even if you're on Mill Street or on Edison, you can see them down the way. So
Yes.
to run that stop sign now would deliberate effort at this point, so.
Okay.
So, glad to have that up, yes.
Just a question, Dale. How expensive are those LED?
I was thinking they were right around $1,300 a piece.
You know, there are probably some other streets could use those things in the future.
Part of it is powering them. So we have to really be careful about how we're setting them up for powering them. But yes, I would agree. I mean, they definitely get your attention.
Yeah.
And if you have any suggestions, please write them down and let's look into it.
They're not set up solar?
No, but you can get them set up solar. Yeah, we already had an electrical drop there anyway, so it's just a matter of just getting rid of that light and putting in something that's a little more, gets your attention a little better.
Okay.
Other than that, street department, out patching potholes, and where we're swapping main over on Edmund Street. We're moving services from an old main to a new main, so there's patching that's taking place out there. Plus, they're in the process of working on trees, so if you have a work order in, please be patient. It's on the list, but there is a visible presence of our crews out on the street here as of lately. So other than that, we're winding down for the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you,
Any
Dale.
questions for me?
Andrea?
Okay. Just a reminder that our Oktoberfest is this weekend, the 27th. They're having some activities downtown, and then the 28th Saturday is out at Memorial Park. And October 19th is the Eastmoreland County Hospital Foundation Fall Affair, so I need anyone who wants to attend that from council. And we're still working on our Heritage Day celebration, October 26th. And last week, I went up to the county to test the election equipment, and I'm sad to report it did not work. So it's a good thing we tested it. So tomorrow, the county clerk got the vendors back, and so tomorrow we're gonna test everything again, and hopefully it will go. So it's a good thing we do that. The
It is.
county clerk's office is doing a great job to try and get everything. That ballot set is really something with all of the different districts, and so it's quite interesting. So that's it.
Okay. Mayor and council reports. Anyone have anything?
I went to the museum board meeting the other night. Those guys just do a phenomenal job. See, I didn't bring my notes because I was late today, so. But they're doing some kind of thing for the kids again, because they're gonna have
I was wondering if they're doing something special for the Oktoberfest too?
they didn't talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll, I usually, because they were glad to see it move over to that
Yeah.
area, give them a little exposure. to
And it
that.
may be on my,
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
I don't remember things, so.
I don't remember.
Start
Well,
taking notes.
Dale and Matt and I attended the district meeting in Fleming here last week, and we talked about what was going on in Brush, and Dale was gracious enough to help me in the areas. I said some of the things I knew that we had going on. Dale contributed information with that, and one thing I noticed is that we got a lot going on in Brush, and people noticed that. You had representatives from Fort Morgan and Julesburg and Akron and all the different places. But sometimes we think maybe things are going slow here. They're not, because we had a lot to talk about there, and that meeting went very well, so happy to report that. If there's nothing else, I'll look for motion to adjourn. We are adjourned, and we don't have a work session tonight.